Living in some crazy times, living in some crazy times, living in some crazy times, living in some crazy times.
Much about greetings, family. My name is Kali Monk, and I thank you for tuning in to what I'm saying. Yeah, I was in prison for about almost 9 years, and I won't go into details of my case, but I was basically in there for second-degree robbery. The whole experience opened up my eyes to the fact that basically what they do with individuals like me is their whole thing is not rehabilitation. They want to get you in there, get you off the street, get you out the way, satisfy the public from getting people like me, which I'm not a bad person, but people like me off the streets and inside the prison where we can make them money. I was in the Twin Towers in downtown LA, and the first thing I noticed is how much money was being spent on commissary. Also, too, I found out that the owner of Keefe, which was the canteen program, the store, she was the daughter of Lee Baca, which is the sheriff. Mm-hmm. So after that, I got sentenced to basically 13 years, and I got sent up to prison upstate in Corcoran. And then from there, they were telling us that they needed to ship us out of state because the percentage rate of prisoners that was in California was too many of us. I believe the rate was about like 130% over, which is, it didn't make sense to me. It's like, I thought it was just 100, but it was 130% prison population. Jail population in LA. So they had to ship us. So they gave us an ultimatum. They said you go out of state and you can have more room and more peace and get more programs, or you can stay in these California prisons, and you're gonna stay in these little small cells, and you're gonna not have as much opportunity as you would. So most of us took the opportunity to go out of state. When I first went out of state, I went to Oklahoma. I went to this prison in Oklahoma, and it was owned by this private corporation. It was California Corporation of America. When I went to Corcoran, they were a little bit more on edge because, like I said before, previously, they had level 4 and level 3 inmates there, and the level 3 and 4 inmates basically ran the prison. So what happens with these guards is that they don't get paid that much, and not only do they not get paid that much, they basically give the powers to the inmates so it'll make it less stressful on them and make their job easier. But
you say they give the power. What do you mean they give the power?
They basically let the inmates run the prison. They have porters. They have MAC reps. So let me go into that. So they have MAC reps. It's mostly Hispanics in there. Hispanics have the largest population. Then there's whites. And then there's the others, which consist of Polynesians, Asians, and then there's the blacks. So from each group has a representative, and the representative basically governs and sets the rules for the rest of the inmates. So the MAC rep has to check in with the prison guards. So most of the prison guards, they didn't want to do that much. They just wanted to come in there and do their job. They didn't want to get their hands dirty. They didn't want to fight. They didn't want to, rough people up. But they would, if they're forced to, then they'll do it. But other than that, they just give the power to the inmates to run the prison. Which makes sense, makes their job easier.
So when you went to Oklahoma, was it similar or was it different?
No, it was a little bit more lax. They basically said, you guys abide by the program, which is basically the rules of, governance. You guys go to school, you guys do your thing, and we're gonna leave you guys alone, basically. But the only time they had to really step in is when there was fights in between the inmates, and most of the fights between the inmates was over drugs and the influx of drugs coming in. Also, too, they just wanted more. I don't want to say freedoms, but the inmates just wanted to have more opportunities to make their time go by quicker. In a fire camp, you can get half off of your time. Like I said before, I was sentenced to 13 years, and when I went to the board, basically to get approved to go to fire camp, I actually got time knocked off when I made it to fire camp.
And what was that experience like in fire camp?
Fire camp, okay, so from North Kern State Prison, I went to this place called La Cima, and it's in San Diego. And yeah, so we went there for training, and it was like more open, just like it is around here. It wasn't too many bars and too many gates, and you know, a lot of people liked it better over there because they fed you better. The prison guards didn't give you so much of a hard time as they would in these state prisons. And yeah, so most people wanted to go because they get time knocked off and they can get out early. And it wasn't too many, that's another thing too, it wasn't too much politics like it was in these California prisons and out of state. There was a lot of politics. Like, basically, the blacks couldn't eat with the Hispanics, the Hispanics couldn't eat with the blacks couldn't eat with the whites, or woods as they call, and everything. So they were kind of easing up on that when I went to fire camp, but it was still there. It made sense to me that this wasn't about punishing me. This is about programming me to be more submissive before I get out. And it's also too, it's a lot of cheap labor because they had 3 or 4 different fire crews, and we went out to different places, and we basically did landscaping. Also too, they paid us too, so that's a lot of people, they were able to save some money while in the fire camp.
You remember what the pay rate was like?
Man, everything is cheaper. That's why I'm saying the whole prison and jail experience is about population control, and it's about cheap labor. Because the first position, which is basically raking up the debris and stuff like that, you get paid like 25 cents an hour. 25 fucking cents an hour. And the chainsaw, you get $1 an hour. But they didn't pay you more than $1 an hour. And then when you went out to different fires, you get paid, I think you get paid $2, you know what I mean, for the fires.
How were you feeling once you found out you were going to be released?
Okay, so this is a weird story for me because I really haven't told anybody this, but in a fire camp, right before you get ready to get out, they give you like a 3 weeks notice to let your family know that you're getting out. They give you an interview. Right before that, because I was one of those people in fire camp, I knew I was getting screwed over. I knew I was getting underpaid, and I knew this is another form of slavery. So I had this kind of chip on my shoulder. So I didn't take shit from none of the inmates. I didn't. They used to call me lazy because I wouldn't bust my ass working in the fields. And this one time, they had count, which is basically they sounded an alarm and they let all the inmates know to go back to their sleeping quarters and to their bunks so they can count. So what they did this one day is they called people to their bunks to do the count. So they did a count, but they didn't see me. I was in the restroom, and one of the MAC reps let them know that I was in the restroom. I wasn't feeling well that one day. So I came out the restroom and I got back on my bunk. One of the officers see me. Okay, so fast forward after that, they did another count. They did another emergency count where they walk around. 2 or 3 guards walk around. So basically, what it is that you walk up to them and you give them your name and your number, and that's what I did. And this is like 3 weeks before I was getting ready to get out. So one day, so that same day, they ended up basically, making a long story short, they said that they didn't count me that day, that they didn't see me that day. So I went to the office. They called me to the office and they said, we're going to give you a 115, which is a disciplinary act, which can end up in you getting more time. 3 weeks before. So that right there kind of had me stressing a little bit. But then I ended up finding out that this is retaliation because of how I was as a person. I mean, I was a no nonsense person, and like I said, I've been reading books and I've been researching Black revolutionaries. So that's a way that I conducted myself. So anyways, though, they had me stressing out a little bit, but I ended up finding out that this is just a whole little, this is a prank to scare the crap out of me before I got out. And I didn't think it was cool, but I handled it well. So I ended up going back for my hearing for the 115, and they basically dropped the case on me. And they, you know what I mean? Because it was some bullshit. When I was going to court before I got sentenced, they would wake us up early in the morning and get us from the Twin Towers Men's County Jail, and they would shackle us from our wrists to our ankles, so we couldn't leave. They would shackle us together, and they would come get us about 4 or 5 in the morning, right? And they rounded us up and put us all on a dark bus and took us to the court, which wasn't that far. Before you got to court, you had to go to a holding tank. So just imagine walking down the corridor and seeing cells here, big tanks, bars here, and there's all different types of. There's a black tank, because everything was segregated. There's a black tank, there's a Hispanic tank, and a white tank. And as a black or other, you couldn't go inside the other tanks. You had to go to the tank where your race was. Also, too, there was a lot of politics dealing with gangs. You know what I mean? A lot of gangs had their own little areas, and you couldn't walk in there if you weren't part of the gang. So anyway, they basically had us fighting against each other while we're in there, because most of the guys were upset because they were getting all this time. So they would prey on other inmates that were going inside the wrong tanks. So I saw a lot of infighting, us beating up against each other when we should have been coming together and organizing against the situation and trying to better ourselves and get ourselves out of the situation. So after that, we would go back to different jails. There was like 4 or 5 different, no, more than that. It's about 4 to 6 different jails that you can go to. So one of the jails that they used to ship us out to was Wayside. So before you got to Wayside, they would chain you up and put you in shackles and put you on the bus, and you would drive way out to Wayside, which is by it was by some amusement park, like I think it was Six Flags or something like that. But anyways, when you got off the bus, they will unchain you and they will have you go inside of a room for a cavity search, because a lot of people used to try to get drugs and weapons going to court. They could have people, other inmates give them stuff and think about the court. So anyways, this is the most dehumanizing experience. They were all lined us up, and then they would tell you to turn around and crack open your butt cheeks. And they said it was so dehumanizing, and it was a breaking thing for me. It was buck breaking, basically. What the Jamaicans went through and what we went through, buck breaking. And they used to say gross, disgusting stuff like, bend over and let me see the pink. And a lot of people, I don't know why they thought that was funny, but it was horrible. So they would have you bend over, spread your butt cheeks, and then they would come with some spray, because, you know what I mean, people would be in court all morning, all day, and they would come back there and they would kind of be funky. Just they want to put you, they want to make you seem like you're the scum of the earth, and that you're the lowest of the lowest. And it's like, you know, most people, they didn't want to keep going through that. So they just ended up taking plea bargains. They would take any time that because they didn't want to keep going back and forth to court, and they had to come back and be subjected to being told, bend over and let me see the pink of your ass. And it was just horrible. You know what I mean? I never told that story before.
I be dropping gems and some people don't wanna hear it, but I'ma say it anyway. Sheep nigga run away. Sleep nigga, what you say? We ain't tryna hear that mess. You know you owe us reparation. You need to go and cut the check.